Hey guys, Frankie and welcome back to K Comics. So now taking back Thor Son of Asgard with where we left off with the third issue, where at this point they are 50% done with their quest. So they've acquired the scale of Fukure and also the feather from Nori, and now they are about 50% done with their quest. So they are left with the jewel from the mine of Genia, and at this point they found themselves in the forest around Genia, and they found themselves resting from all they've been through. And just at this point that Sif realizes that this kind of little relief is not going to last for long, and at one point in time they will have to continue their journey, and that will pretty much suck for her. And also at this point, having spent days on the quest to finding these four elements, time and smell has taken its toll on Thor and Border, and they are smelling like shit. Like they are really smelling. And so while Sif will take a bath, Thor and Border, for the meantime, they should go find firewood, because she doesn't really want to as being the only female among them, she doesn't really want to take a bath with them. Something might happen. There are two boys. So she showed them the way to the forest so that they will go gather some firewood, and then the way to the forest is opposite to where she's bathing. So like, go here and I'll be taking a bath here, and Thor, please, no pee pee. And she was more or less saying this to Thor because Border wouldn't do that. But for someone like Thor, that guy is really bad. She might just take a look back and then try to see what creations God has made, to behold creation. And with all this happening, we know Loki followed them, and he has been hiding in the shadows, lurking in the shadows, looking at whatever is going on. And at this point, looking at Sif Bath alone, he knew this is the perfect time to strike, and he's going to use Thor as a pawn in his game. So he shouted help, which Thor mistook as Sif calling for help. And at this point, we all know that they've left Sif in the river taking a bath. So when Thor heard help, he mistook it as Sif calling for help and then rushed back to aid Sif. But by running back, he barged into Sif, who was still bathing, and barging into Sif was kind of glad for Thor to appear for some reason. I don't know, but I think he was supposed to be angry, but due to some innate affection within Sif, he felt kind of glad that Thor was here, and the fact that Border is not around, they can use this opportunity to practice some grappling that Hogan has taught them back in the castle. And the reason they are probably going to do this is because they wanted to stay close proximity to each other in order to feel their affection. And I can't help but to think that why would they want Border out of the way when this is all going on? And why would they keep Border out of it? I mean, Border is their friend, so why would you want to keep a secret of you being a two, like, away from Border? And so with the grappling thing, Border pulled up on them mainly because the grappling was shaking the grounds and he thought they were being attacked. So he came out to their help. But when he came there, they were lying on the ground laughing, and he was like, "What are you doing down here? I thought you were like going to search for firewood, but you are here on the ground with Sif. Like, what's going on here?" And Sif and Thor, they don't really want to tell Border what's going on because they knew it would sound weird. So they lied to Border and was like, nothing happened here. We were just like, lying on the ground. So nothing happened here. But of course, Border is not dumb. He knew they are lying to him and they are not really telling the truth. But what can he say? They said nothing really happened there. And so during the night, they were sitting around the firewood, like doing probably what you do when you sit around the firewood, like when you are three. Like, you talk about some past things and converse about other things that has happened. But at this moment, Whilst they were sitting around the firewood, this mysterious being is still in the dark looking at everything, and she sees Loki. And it's funny to hear how Loki has also joined the game, and with Loki here spying on his brother and his friend, like trying to find a way to mess up their plans. That's an ally right there. And so the next day they started their journey, but they will have to go through the dunes of Genia. And with Thor realizing that they will have to go through the sand and the sand will make them probably dirty, he knew that making Sif dirty is like a good job. So when Sif is dirty, then she will probably have to take a bath, which he will get his chance, to do Thor stuffs. But we say this, Sif smacks him in the head like you've said enough, like that's enough. And with Border being so curious about what's happening between Thor and Sif, he then asked them what is going on between them, and they denied like nothing happened between them, and so everything is cool between them. But Border immediately got angry because even though he tells them that they should tell him what happened and they should stop telling him that nothing happened, they have to tell him what happened, and then he would rather be the judge of if what happened between them is nothing or something. But they didn't still want to tell him, so he just stormed off and then led the way. And so they got to the desert, and then they started walking through the desert. And so while walking through the dunes of Judea, Sif remembers that at his young age when he was a child, he remembers longing for jewels from Judea, and even to this day, she still longs for such items, like maybe sit there and then wait or long for a necklace or a ring from Judea. Like that's a thing to behold, because from this place great jewels come from. But immediately after saying this, she was immediately sucked into the ground, like she was literally swallowed by the ground. And so following that, Thor was of course enraged because Sif has been swallowed by the ground, and she started digging with anger, which Border tells him to calm down so that they can assess the situation. But Thor, he wasn't listening, and he was still digging the ground, and he was also, boom, you guessed it, he was also swallowed by the ground, which left only Border to wander around why they would be sacked by the ground, leaving him alone on earth. Like, why would both of them be sacked by the earth and then leave him alone on the earth? But the fact that Thor is now trapped with Sif underground, the fact that they two have been trapped under the ground is not sitting right with him, because previously, prior to that, they were doing some weird stuff, they were saying some weird stuff, and now they were the only two to be sacked into the ground. And I think right now it should be evident that Border feels some affection for Sif. So having only Sif and Thor trapped underground, wondering if they both might be alive or they both have some agenda under the ground, is something that's worrying him. And then upon thinking this, boom, he was also sucked into the ground, which you guessed it, right? Because if you didn't, then you are probably dumb. And so with Loki watching all this unfold, he then came out of his hiding from being intangible to tangible, and he was rather savoring on the fact that these three have been sacked by the earth, which is probably not he wished for, but he's still glad that they have been sacked, even though he wanted it to be by his hand. And this is when you realize that Loki shouldn't have appeared, and he did. And you guessed it, boom, he was also sacked into the ground. And I know you guessed it, because if you didn't guess this, then you are the dumbest of all dumps. But with Border being the last one to be sacked into the ground, he realized that this thing feeds on emotion, and once you get angry or you feel some kind of affection, you'll be sacked by the land of Jenia. And at this point in time, they were in underground and surrounded by what seems to be like purple little babies and giant babies, who feed off of emotion. So if you express a form of emotion like love, they will feed off it, and then boom, they will start engulfing you until you are no more. And so with Border realizing that before Sif was sucked into it, or before Thor was also sucked into it, they expressed some form of emotion, and that's why they were sucked into it. And also before he was sucked into it, he also expressed some form of jealousy among Thor and Sif. So that's why he was sucked into it. So that's probably the reason why they were sucked into it, and they have to stay emotionless in order for them to be free, and also to grab their jewel and also head their way. And the jewel is basically the little purple babies who have evolved in emotions and then have been turned into the jewel. So they grabbed it and then came out from the underground. And also the reason why Odin wants this piece of artifact is because he wants the wielder of this sword to be free from emotion, so that he or she will be able to wield the sword perfectly. And therefore, when you are in a war, you wouldn't have to kill because you love to kill, but you will kill because it's necessary and it had to be done. Simply put, the sword will not be made for revenge. So if maybe you want revenge, then you should get inside the kitchen and find some kitchen knife, or maybe a fork if it will do the job. And it was at this point when Sif gave Border a kiss for just being smart. And I'm smart and I'm just sitting here, just saying. And at this point, I know people are wondering because Loki was sucked into the underground, but he wasn't joined with Thor and Border and Sif. So where was he? And this is when we knew that Loki was saved by someone. Like, he was saved by the mysterious person in order to help him destroy Thor, Sif and Border. And this mysterious person is none other than Canila, the known god. And that's about it for this issue. Make sure you stay tuned, like this video if you like it, of course subscribe to the channel so that when the next issue drops, you'll be the first one to know. And also I want to put this one out there because with Canila being here, it's going to make things a little bit interesting. So make sure you stay tuned, as I once said, because her plans at this moment is not really yet known, only because she wants to disrupt Thor, Border and Sif from their quest. But her main plan is not yet revealed. And I mean, her main plan is far more crazier than trying to disrupt their quest. And if you want to know, you know what to do. Click on the subscribe button so that when it drops, you get to know first. Until then, my friends, peace.